What is up, my friends? You are very welcome along to a brand new week here on Anfield Agenda, and this is Monday evening's news roundup. Today we're going to be taking you through the quite simply sensational news that Manchester United, yes, Manchester United, want to sign one of Liverpool's central midfielders. I'm going to tell you who. On top of that, we're going to be giving you a developing story around Bayern Munich's desire to try to woo Florian Wirtz back over to Munich. Now, I'm going to tell you why you've got nothing to worry about. That and lots more coming up over the next few minutes. But as always, I want to know your thoughts. Feel free to let me know in the comment section. Drop a like if you enjoy the video. But most importantly, please do remember to hit that subscribe button. Right, we're going to get stuck into it straight away, and we're going to give you one of my favourite posts over the last few days from a gentleman on X called Dom, who said Dominic Szoboszlai, maybe it's that Dom, is it? No, it isn't quite that one. But Dominic Szoboszlai is the first Liverpool central midfielder since Stevie G to reach double-digit goals, which is even more insane, he writes, considering he played several games at right back. You know, I never really gave it much thought about how much I took for granted Steven Gerrard's goals when he was a Liverpool player. But I think it's fair to say since Stevie G has moved on and, you know, hung up his boots, we haven't seen too many midfielders really get up there with goal scoring and assists in the manner that we would have liked. So Dominic Szoboszlai really starting to show why those comparisons between himself and Stevie G are coming to the fore. Now, Vinicius Jr., yes, that Vinicius Jr. from Real Madrid. Well, he was asked, does he have any friends in football outside of Real Madrid players? And his answer, well, his answer is one that you won't want to hear and one that kind of leans into the whole point we made yesterday. So he said, I talked to Dominic Szoboszlai a lot. I've known him since we were younger. Now, over the last few days, you've probably seen the comments from the Hungarian national team coach saying that Dominic Szoboszlai grew up dreaming about playing for Real Madrid. Since he could kick a football, that's where he's wanted to go. Well, I very much hope that Liverpool, I'm sure, are keeping tabs on this situation and will try to get him tied down to a new deal as soon as possible. His current contract with the Reds is up at 2028, so let's see if we can get it done this summer. Now, I said at the very start of the video that I would tell you about a ridiculous story linking one of our central midfielders with a move to Manchester United. Now, this isn't Fajahes. This isn't some fly-by-night firm. This is the Daily Mirror that are saying Manchester United consider shock Alexis McAllister transfer raid on fierce rivals Liverpool. Now, in what world would Alexis McAllister want to up sticks and go from Liverpool to Manchester United? I mean, whatever about him potentially wanting to play in La Liga at one point in the future, and we've discussed this at length on the channel, there is absolutely no hope, no way, no how that he heads to Manchester United. So I think we can safely say wherever their sourcing is gotten from that, they may go and have a word with them, because that, quite frankly, is absolutely ridiculous. And for a newspaper to publish that with a straight face, and we're supposed to be the ludicrous. Imagine I came to you with a story trying to tell you that, lads, I'm worried about Alexis McAllister because I'm hearing United want to sign him. Really? Come on now, you're better than that. Right, Anfield Edition, they've posted some comments from Slot on whether Dominic Szoboszlai could be a future Liverpool captain. Of course, this is a subject we've discussed on many, many late night agendas here over the last few months, and I think it's fair to say most Liverpool fans, and certainly I interact with, would be more than happy for Dom to be a future Liverpool captain. Well, this is what our head coach Arne Slot has had to say. Yes, but he's still young. I think he has a lot of attributes already, especially when it comes to leading by example. But there's still a step to make in terms of leadership, being vocal, being a voice in the dressing room if you compare it to Virgil van Dijk, which is completely normal because Virgil's 34 and he's probably James Milner or Jordan Henderson and these players. So, yes, he is a very senior player in that dressing room, Virgil van Dijk, as was Jimmy Milner, as was Jordan Henderson. But Dom, he is screaming leadership in that Steven Gerrard mould, right? And I used to use Stevie G as an example of a captain that leads by example on the pitch more than his words or anything else. He just leads by grabbing the game by the scruff of the neck and making it happen. And that is exactly what Dom is doing. He goes on to say, so it's really good for Dominic that he sees Virgil as well. That's the next step for him to be as vocal and as loud as Virgil is. That comes with time, I think, but for all the other things, he has a lot to become a very influential player for Liverpool, and you call him a leader. So, at the start of the video, we talked about Florian Wirtz and how Bayern Munich could try to woo him back over to Germany. The good news is you've got nothing to worry about, but Bayern Space, who I think is a really, really good account for all things, well, Bayern Munich related, they say this: I can now reveal that in recent days, Uli Hoeneß has made contact with Wirtz's father and his agent. And Florian's tremendous Premier League form and seeming seamless adjustment has forced its way into Bayern's headquarters, despite quiet hopes in some corners of Munich that the step abroad might prove too big, too fast, or too unforgiving. The outreach was calculated rather than spontaneous. It followed a similar Bayern playbook: offer congratulations, rebuild warmth, re-establish emotional proximity, and subtly remind the family that the door is always open and never locked. The subtext was unmistakable. Should nostalgia or comfort or begin to outweigh ambition, Bayern Munich would be waiting. It's the same strategic patience the club applied to Leroy Sané during his Manchester City period, maintaining dialogue over time, preserving trust, quietly positioning themselves so that a contract edge approach circumstances shifted, the groundwork had already been laid. Bayern assumed a similar long-term framework could be installed here. The steady contact and gravity might eventually bend the direction. In this instance, however, that thinking is flawed. Wirtz's father answered without any hesitation or pause, making it unmistakably clear that Florian's journey in England is not a temporary interlude, not a temporary interlude before a nostalgic return to Germany, but a long-term commitment designed to peak, flourish, and ultimately conclude at Liverpool, England's most mythical, aura-drenched and historically towering institution, a club woven into the very mythology of the sport with no hidden clause for sentimental homecoming. Gotta say, I really love the style of language being used here, but let me continue on. There is no conceivable scenario in which Florian returns to the Bundesliga, neither at the height of his powers nor in the twilight of his career, because he does not see Germany as unfinished business, and it's worth noting that not even Spain tempts him, as both stand beneath the summit he believes he already occupies. From Florian's perspective, a move to Bayern was never an unwritten chapter, but a throne imagined in Munich's own chronicles, and whatever tried to proclaim its destiny has now collapsed like an empire of marble with hollow foundations undone by a history that was never theirs to shape. I mean, that is quite a wordy statement, but the gist of it being that Florian Wirtz knows that he's at a huge club, knows that he's at the summit of world football, and that the Premier League is where it's at. Now, I might get this account to write my autobiography if ever I should have one, because the language in there is one that I could only dream about being able to use on a daily basis. But ultimately, like I said, the message is Florian Wirtz is happy at Liverpool, doesn't want to go to Spain, doesn't want to go back to Germany, and for us Liverpool fans, that certainly comes as welcome news. This account has been on the money, in my opinion, with all things Florian Wirtz, all the way through the drama in the summer, right to this situation right now. So, ladies and gentlemen, I've done my part. Now it's over to you. Let me know what you're thinking. Connor's away for a few days, as I've said, so I'm here holding down the fort. Cannot wait to catch up with you again tonight for the late night agenda, where we'll know the draw at that point, who Liverpool face in the 5th round of this season's FA Cup, which Manchester United, by the way, aren't in, so another reason why Macca wouldn't be headed up there. Ladies and gents, we'll see you tonight. Much love. Bye-bye.